Good morning. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee and Chat with Hallee Bridgeman. I'm so happy you could join me this morning. I have my cup of coffee, so I hope you have your cup of coffee or tea or whatever you drink in the morning and you have a few minutes while we chat. It's actually like getting closer to lunchtime. I had a bad headache last night. It was the kind of headache where it hurt so bad that I couldn't get up to do anything about it, and it was like 4 o'clock this morning before I finally got up and took something. And I didn't sleep well at all. And I took kids to school, came home and laid down to try to sleep. And I could not go to sleep. I laid there for 2 hours wishing I was sleeping. And I have never been able to sleep in the daytime, ever. And you know, my house is dark. It's cloudy and rainy here. The shades were drawn and completely quiet. There was no reason I couldn't fall asleep because I had taken something and my headache didn't hurt anymore, but it didn't work. When I was 22, I took a job, data entry. So, you know, like 10 key data entry. We were like hand inputting, like Medicaid, Medicare, the Medicare healthcare, claims into a system. So it was all alphanumeric. And I was really fast. And so we had a queue, like we had to complete a certain number of entries before we could go home. And it was set up that most people with their average data entry would end up working an 8-hour shift before they could even get close to finishing. But, you know, this job required, let me think if I have it right, 4,000 characters per minute entry, and my speed was 10,000. And so I was usually done by 2 in the morning, me and one other woman, and we would get paid for a full 8-hour shift. Starting at 11 p.m., by 2 a.m. we were done and we would leave. So people started complaining, obviously, because people don't like that. And we ended up like being required to work the 8-hour shift, but anything over our whatever the standard was, we got like an extra 5 cents or something per every claim was done. But it was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I could not sleep. I would come home and just lay there crying because I was so tired. And by the time I quit that job, in tears because I was so exhausted, and I was 22 years old and needed this job. My ex-husband was working at a pizza parlor. It was because I could not sleep. And it was like 3 weeks after they changed our schedule or required us to work the full 8 hours was when I finally just quit. It was impossible. And so I've had like an insomniac infant who, you know, ends up with autism. I had him when he was 2 and a new infant they were like tag teaming me with sleep. I was probably getting an hour or 2 at a time at night. Even with that, I couldn't sleep in the day. I don't know what made me think I could come and take a nap today, but here I am. So this weekend, we went to the Indiana American Christian Fiction Writers had a self-publishing panel. And so I sat on the panel with my friend Raylene Burke and a couple of other people. My names just completely went out of my mind, which is awful because they're friends. And we had this panel where we each got to speak on different aspects of publishing and then took a Q&A, and it was like a 3-hour long thing. It was really amazing. So I spoke on marketing and social media, and it was very cool. So I was there with Lisa Prysak, who spoke on the importance of like conferences and attending different functions as an author. And then Raylene spoke on editing and such. And my friend Joanne spoke about the importance of beautiful covers. And anyway, it was just this really great comprehensive panel, and we had a really good time. And then the same evening, my husband, Greg, spoke at the Louisville Christian Writers meeting, and he taught on how women and men speak differently and think differently in their different brains. And it was so funny because after it was over, because this is a really good class. If you ever get a chance to take Greg's He Said, She Said class, I highly recommend it. So after it was over, this room of people, they like the consensus was, you need to be teaching like marriage therapy. I'm going to print out your class and give it to my daughter who's getting married next week. It was really fantastic. So anyway, so that was our weekend. And now it's Monday and it's a new week and I'm excited to be normal again. Well, back to work. So the question I'm answering today is how many half-written books and how many unpublished books do you have, you know, like the idea is hidden under your bed. That's what it used to be. It used to be when you typed in a typewriter, people would hide it under their bed. Now it's, you know, hidden on your computer. So the answer to that is I have one book that will never get published that I can't rewrite. It was a secular romance that I wrote, a secular romantic suspense that's really good. It's like one of my favorite books I ever wrote character-wise. But the reason I can't publish it is because one of the main characters is a ghost. And as much fun as that is in a fictional world, and as much as you're capable of like having the suspension of disbelief, you know, and I could biblically back the spirit world and spirits and even communicating with spirits, because that's biblical. A medium like raised one of the prophets from the dead to talk to one of the kings, and since I'm so great with names, I'm able to tell you exactly who and when. But the fact is she conjured his spirit and he's like, hey, I was sleeping. Is because it just simply would not be accepted in the Christian market. And I can respect that. And I would have fun like rewriting it to a Christian book, and I would have fun publishing it, but I'm just not willing to upset any portion of my readership over something that's so trivial. And so I just won't ever publish it. And honestly, that book could not be redone in any way to have it fit, to have it be like a book without the ghost element. It was written intentionally to have this ghost as like this main character. And so, you know, it just will never get published. So that one kind of sits there. I told Greg I should just publish it under a pen name as like a sweet romance. And he was like, well, what's the point of that? Because, you know, my mission statement is to uplift fellow believers and minister to seekers in the fallen world. And so if my writing doesn't do any of that, then it doesn't need to have any kind of energy poured into it, because that's where the energy of my writing comes and goes. And so it just will never be published. I also have a series, the Dixon Brothers series is the one that I'm writing now. It was originally also a romance, a contemporary secular romance years and years ago when I wrote it, gosh, 17, 18 years ago. And it was one of my first series. Like, it was written before the Jewel series. And it was so poorly written with really great characters, but so poorly written and so long ago that honestly, I'm just taking the concept of three brothers, three triplets, and turning it into a brand new story. There's nothing that's going to be the same. I'm not even like opening the old files. And like with the Jewel series, when I originally rewrote them, I had the old files open and I was just like scene by scene rewriting them. The Dixon Brothers, I'm not even doing that. It's just, okay, here are their names. And these are the names of their women. We've changed two of them. So there's only one that stayed. And here was the premise of this story, the premise of that story, and the premise of that story. The premises are staying the same. But the rest of it is like completely gutted and being rewritten. And so those books, you know, they don't even count as rewrites, as what we called, with the Jewel series, we called it redeemed. With these, it's simply, here was the premise of a story, and these are the names of the characters, and now let's rewrite them. We even changed the last name. They used to be the Rinkoff brothers. But since I just finished publishing On the Ropes, which is about the Russian mafia, I didn't want to have another series with a Russian family that wasn't the Russian mafia. And I thought I would give our audio artist, Gene Rowley, a break with all of my ethnic characters. He gets to have actual, you know, Southern Americans because my Dixon brothers are in Atlanta. And since Gene is, from Birmingham, I'll give him a break with voices. So that's it. I have one that will never be published and nothing else. And I don't write like 15 books at a time. I write one series at a time. Now, I will tell you that I have my Special Forces series is plotted. That's 4 books. And the Chef series is plotted. That's 4 books. And so I have 8 total books that are completely plotted out, and characters are starting to get developed in my mind. But I don't know if you would consider those half-written. So thank you for that question. Y'all have a great Monday, a great week, and I will enjoy, if you're celebrating Veterans Day today, enjoy it. My kids had to go to school today, and Jonathan was really sad because Greg wasn't able to go to the Veterans Day thing today, and he's like, well, maybe Grandpa can come, but it was like a day before it happened, and so there was no way to even call my dad or Greg's dad and ask them if they could come. So yeah, I'm sure he had a sad morning at school, but I saw all sorts of pictures from friends who were at their kids' school celebrating Veterans Day. So if you're off, enjoy. If you're a veteran, thank you for your service, and we love you guys. And I will see you next week. God bless you.